Hi, game passionate nerd here, and I think we've been kinda gaslit on the rules of time travel in recent WoA story, and I believe that they did that because if we know how time travel actually works, then it's kinda obvious how Rover might save Amith. I had a lot of fun theorizing this, and I hope you'll have even more fun watching. Let's begin. The main problem is that Amith cannot create her own timeline in the way the story describes that she did. Why is that the case? Well, what is time? We can imagine a line going from left to right and a point in the middle. This line is our time and the point is our now, except there is little more to it. While we are in the now, our future doesn't exist yet. So instead of the line continuing, we have an infinite space of all possible futures. Outcomes of the future are determined as a response to our actions in the now. Therefore, all possible futures' existence is in this sort of quantum superposition-like state. We cannot know what the future will be until it becomes our now and we actually observe it. This means that Amith cannot go back in time to save her own timeline, because the future from which she would go back doesn't exist yet. Imagine two scenarios when Exostrider is battling Aleph 1. Scenario 1. Exostrider successfully seals Aleph 1 behind the Strider Gate. World is saved. Then Ameth is born, and she is supposed to go back to save the world with Exostrider. Except why would she do that? World in this timeline is already saved. There is no need to go back in time. Scenario 2. Exostrider loses to Aleph 1 because it needs Ameth's help. Then the world is destroyed by Aleph 1. Ameth cannot be born because the world doesn't exist anymore. Therefore, Ameth cannot go back in time. No matter how you look at it, Ameth can't go back in time because the only scenario when she would do so in order to save her timeline is when she doesn't exist, which is why this is the paradox. She cannot save her current timeline because she originates from it. Or does she?
Anything lost inside can exist in multiple moments at once. Things caught in it can be thrown into junctures of time they were never part of. Things caught in it can be thrown into junctures of time they were never part of.
Things caught in it can be thrown into junctures of time that they were never part of.
So far we've spoken under an assumption that Ameth was born in our timeline after Striker Gate was sealed. But what if she wasn't? What if she fell to the void space before the clash of Aleph 1 and Exostrider, or even in entirely another timeline? Then she was swept away by the void space, and the past rover brought her to our timeline by fishing her up. What if she would have sealed Aleph 1 behind Strider Gate, regardless if she fell into void space or not, regardless if rover found her or not? What if, no matter what happens throughout the infinity of possible timelines, she would always have sealed the Strider Gate? This would mean that there is no paradox anymore. She could always go back and seal the Strider Gate because the very existence of our timeline would be irrelevant to the course of the events. Rover saving her would be irrelevant to her actions. But I doubt this is the way Kuro wants the story to go. After all, Rover and Amy's relationship was the main focus of this patch's story, and if we assume that our timeline is irrelevant, then Rover's and Amy's relationship is irrelevant as well. Main goal for Rover now is saving Ameth, so we need to find a timeline without a paradox, a timeline when Ameth doesn't create herself.
If I follow it, maybe I can find where she is.
What if our timeline goes like this? Exostrider fights Aleph 1. Exostrider resonates with someone, let's call them the OG Savior. Exostrider seals Aleph 1 behind Strider Gate. Ameth is born and events of her life unfold. Then some third party travels in time and gets rid of the OG Savior. Now our timeline seems no longer stable. Ameth sees this in the void space and fills in the role of the OG Savior to preserve the timeline. Then 3.1 finishes. What will happen next? We already know that Ameth cannot be the savior of her own timeline because that would create a paradox. I predict that Rover will go back in time, they will find the OG savior, and put them back in correct place in time. This way IMF doesn't have to resonate with the Exostrider, so she doesn't create herself and is restored to our timeline. That's basically the only way I see Rover saving her. And you might have realized that I said, now our timeline seems no longer stable. That's because even if some third party did go back in time and remove the OG savior, our current timeline would not be affected. That third party wouldn't change our timeline, but instead create a new one, where the OG savior is removed. This also makes me think that the vision IMF saw in the void space was manufactured to fool her. Just like the third party cannot doom our timeline by changing the past, so too IMF cannot save our timeline. She would just be creating another timeline in which she is the savior. That third party's goal might be to remove IMF from our timeline so she doesn't interfere with their plans. Similar to how Cartefia was manipulated and controlled by the Leviathan. Oh, wait a second. Manipulated by the Trinodian. Our timeline cannot be affected by changing the past. But after 3.1, we're not in the past, we're in the present day. And IMF now is in a state Rover believes she can be restored from.
But if you exist, it means she's still alive too, doesn't it?
By crossing Strider Gate and bringing her back. What if the third party never wanted to change the past? Just like Cartefia's, IMF's entire life might have been a part of the Trinodian's plot from the beginning. She could have been placed in our timeline by Aleph 1 itself. What if Trinodian is using IMF as a bait for Rover to open the Strider Gate in the now?
No one has ever seen what's beyond the Strider Gate. It's all just guesswork.
That's when your frequency I'd been carrying with me. It was corrupted by the void matter.
Open the Strider Gate. Keep going. No matter what.
This way the past wouldn't be changed, but the future which remains to be determined. This would avoid the paradox and allow Aleph 1 to consume Solaris in current timeline. Rover might be about to make his biggest mistake yet. So what do you think? Do my theories make sense or am I going crazy? Regardless, it's been really fun to theorize, and 3.1 has been a blast. I love time travel scenarios when they are written in a non-contrived way, and I hope Kuro doesn't get out of this by power of friendship or anything similar. Well, this has been Game Passionate Nerd. Have a nice day, play games and have fun. Bye.